Okay. Welcome everyone to Teach for the Bay. You are here for the Liberal Studies Interdisciplinary BA degrees and K-6 credentials at San Francisco State University. And I want to warmly welcome you to the Teach for the Bay workshop. Please continue to register. I will drop some links into the chat. If you have any technical difficulties, I'm here to support you. My name is Sarah Glassband, and I will be proctoring the session. And I will turn it over to you all. Oh, I am.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Sarah, and thanks all of you for being here today and for our alumni and guests joining us from remote distances. It's really wonderful to have you. We're here today to talk a little bit about our liberal studies program and the opportunities at San Francisco State University. And I was thinking about being maybe in your position of being a prospective student and thinking about the choice that you might be making in terms of where you want to go to pursue your teaching career. And I was on campus today, and it struck me that one of the things that I think maybe you don't get to hear about in some of these other workshops is what the experience is like at a university, at a campus like this. And today happened to be such a beautiful day that I was walking around and I took a few pictures that I just wanted to start with so you can get a sense of what our school is like. And the reason I'm doing this is not just for that, but also because a lot of people may not realize it, but San Francisco State has done a lot of recent construction, and we have a lot of new buildings that are pretty fantastic. So these are a couple of pictures of the campus. This is a brand new building that was just opened this year called the Science and Engineering Innovation Center. We also recently opened a brand new student dormitory called the West Grove Commons, opened this year. And this is our building where you can find us on the fourth floor of the Humanities Building. This slide is a little bit out of order. It should have gone next, but there you have it. If you ever need to look for our department, Liberal Studies. And then we also recently opened the George and Judy Marcus Hall for the Liberal and Creative Arts in 2021. So all of these are, I think, opportunities for students to come to our campus and get some of the latest cutting edge technology in terms of the kinds of infrastructure and classroom instruction that we offer. So that's where our major fits in. Liberal studies, what is this major all about, and what are the opportunities to pursue a teaching career through this degree? There are three pathways that I want to talk about today. And as I do each one of these, I think the thing that makes us different and makes our program stand out is that our faculty bring innovative ways of teaching and learning into our classroom. And those innovative ways give a lot of our students a wide variety of tools to apply in their classrooms as future teachers. And some of the times the ways that we do this is through the classes that we teach, but also through the instruction that we offer, through the activities that we offer in class, and through the way in which we think about really complicated modern problems that are facing our society and our world today. It's an interdisciplinary major, but I'll give you examples of some of the kinds of things that we offer as we talk about the curriculum. So the first pathway that we want to tell you about is fairly new. It's been on board now for a couple of years, but it's the fastest way to get both a bachelor's degree and a teaching credential in 4 years. And this is called the Integrated Teacher Preparation major, or the LS ITEP major. And it's only 73 units, and it's something that a student could accomplish both as an incoming freshman to San Francisco State, as well as a transfer student if the courses that they took at the transfer level were in the right sequence. And to give you an idea of some of the classes that are in that program, I could drop the link to our department website in the chat for you, and you can keep that and check it out at your convenience. But on our website here, for the School of Liberal Studies, you'll find this link to the Integrated Teacher Preparation right here for more information. And in that program, students take a variety of classes in different thematic areas, some of which you can get at the community college, like I mentioned, and some of which you need to take at San Francisco State. But you take courses in education, in communications, reading and language and literature, in the integrated social sciences. I should make the website a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. And mathematics and interdisciplinary science courses, the visual and performing arts, physical education, and elementary education and credential. By the time you are a senior, you are taking some courses in the graduate program in this integrated teacher education pathway, and that enables you to achieve and accomplish that credential in those 4 years. So we do have students in the program right now, and it's going pretty well. And that's one of the fastest ways and one of the most exciting ways that students can accomplish and attain their credential through our liberal studies degree. The next pathway is the standard liberal studies major. And this is available also for incoming freshmen as well as for transfer students. And it's 42 to 43 units. And it provides a wide preparation for a wide variety of teaching, including credential programs. It doesn't include the credential itself, but it prepares you for applying to a credential program in a graduate school at San Francisco State or other institutions. And in this program, we have a lot of interesting courses that I am going to tell you about now and that our faculty also offer. And as I was talking about before, this is the area where our innovative classes can really shine in the kinds of opportunities that students can have. In addition to that, one of the most flexible parts of our degree is that students not only can take our core classes that all students will be aiming for, but they can also obtain a minor for any minor on campus, which can count towards the major. Our major is divided between core classes and minor classes, or I should say core classes and an emphasis area. And that emphasis area has a lot of flexibility in it. And I want to tell you about some of those opportunities. So for example, in our department, in our school, we have 2 programs that we control, one in comic studies and one in California studies. And the comic studies is a minor. You can take 12 units in different comic studies courses, and you can obtain a minor, and that can count towards your major. And in addition to that, we also have the California Studies minor that we also control in our department, which is similar in terms of the number of units. 12, this is a little larger, sorry, 21 units for the California Studies minor. But for future teachers, California Studies is an excellent choice since a lot of your curriculum will be based on some of the kinds of opportunities for students here in California. In addition to that, there are 70 other majors, 70 other minors on campus, which can be applied towards the liberal studies major. So one of these messages that I think is really important here is you realizing that as prospective students, when you are pursuing your undergraduate major in liberal studies, you can still retain a lot of your passions and the things that you're interested in and excited about by keeping that emphasis in a minor or in other kinds of areas of study. If your interest is in mathematics, you can have a minor in mathematics. If you're interested in ethnic studies, you can have a minor in Latinx studies here at San Francisco State, or African American studies. If your interest is in music, you can have a minor in music and still have that apply to the liberal studies major. So that's something I think that maybe you might not get at other institutions as an opportunity to pursue those passions and interests as part of your major in your pursuit of your undergraduate degree. One of the things that I'm intimately connected with is something called the Climate Change Certificate, which can also be used in place of the minor now. And this is a sequence of courses which is between 13 and 19 units. And I can drop that into the chat as well. And students can take an interesting array of classes connected to climate change, studying the foundations of climate change science, to the impacts of climate change, to the solutions of climate change, and then even have a course based on practical applications for making concrete changes on campus. So it's a pretty exciting opportunity there. And then I want to give you examples of the specific kinds of classes that we offer now in our core. So in addition to doing those emphasis areas and having those areas of passion that you're pursuing, we have a number of courses in some of the major disciplinary realms. So let's look at the science courses, for example, that we offer in liberal studies as part of our core, courses that you would take in the major. We have a course called LS 209, Physical Sciences for Elementary School Teachers, as well as LS 310, the Science and Culture for Future Elementary School Teachers, both of which provide students hands-on activities in class, looking at scientific questions, developing concepts, developing theories and ideas in a way that provides you as a student with the tools that you might use and need in your own classroom to teach future students of your own how to do science and how to think about science. I talked about the climate change certificate again, and then again, you could have minors in a science field if you wanted to. You could have a minor in biology, which could be attached or utilized with the liberal studies major. We also have, and I teach a course called, I teach a course called LS 430, Future of the Forests, which is a mixture of how do forests work, what do you find in forests, what are the kinds of plants and animals and trees and all the things that are there that interact and make the forest function, but also tough questions about how are we using forests now? What's happening to the forests when we cut them down for different reasons? And what are the impacts not only on the forest, but on the communities of people that live near those forests? How are they affected by those resources that get used in that process? We also have a class on social science and medicine, which is an interesting approach to thinking about some of our big world issues around poverty and climate change and immigration and mental health and the opioid crisis, and how we can think about those kinds of questions and address them at multiple levels, at our level here in the United States, perhaps, or even locally within our cities, as well as internationally. How do we approach these kinds of tough problems? So we have some science and social science options. We also have a course called Performance and Pedagogy of the Oppressed for Educators. This is a pretty unique and cool class, which takes the theories of Augusto Boal and Paulo Freire and tries to draw on that pedagogical liberation to develop student-led ideas in a performative process. Students write and perform and direct their own plays in this class as a way of dealing with local issues and things that trouble, issues that they might find in their own communities. And it's a spectacular thing, and at the end of the semester they perform them and invite folks from the department to come and watch the performances. It's a pretty great opportunity and experience. We also have a class called the Introduction to Human Rights Education for Teachers and Local Communities. This is taking what we understand to be our global human rights issues. What are the things that should be universally applied to every human being on the planet? And how is that then intersecting with the rights of the child, for example, and what's going on with education in our local communities? And students in these classes get to create hands-on pedagogical materials that they can then use and incorporate in their own future classes when they will have their own classroom going forward. We also offer an interesting class on social justice themes in the interdisciplinary humanities. This class is a mixture of analyzing both text as well as art and thinking about how social justice issues in these two realms surface, and how artists as well as writers address these issues, and how oftentimes those sorts of narratives, those sorts of stories are repressed in our society, and what we can do to elevate them, to support them. We also have a course called Social Movements in the Arts for future teachers, which is a way of looking at how social movements use art as an expression to advance their causes, and compares different kinds of movements and the different kinds of strategic approaches that they take towards making change in society. And as I mentioned earlier, we have this comics program, which has lots of different options and opportunities for students to get involved in different comics related courses, including making comics, studying comics, understanding how drawing and illustration is a new way, opens up new ways of thinking, new approaches to problem solving, how visual learning and thinking can make advances in the way in which students understand things. And in addition to the different multiple classes in the comics field that are available, we do have a course specifically geared towards comics in education, and how perhaps as a future classroom teacher you might use comics in the classroom. What could you learn about comics, how comic making can open up new ways of thinking and knowing for students through their own illustrations. Then we have a third pathway that we can talk about, which incorporates a lot of what I just said, a lot of those opportunities for the different kinds of courses that we offer in our program, but also gives students an elevated opportunity. This is called the SF Scholars Program. And students in this program end up applying for the Scholars Program in their sophomore or junior year. And if they get accepted, then as a senior, some of the courses that they take are at the graduate level and can count towards a graduate degree, like a master's degree. So it's not necessarily a credential, but it's an opportunity to advance into a graduate master's degree at San Francisco State. And I wanted to illustrate, as we're talking about the opportunities that we have at San Francisco State for both those credentials and the master's programs. So I'm dropping a couple of those links into the chat so folks can see. But for example, you could combine studying liberal studies with obtaining in this SF Scholars Program a master's in educational administration and leadership, or a master's in special education. And so some of the classes that you take as a senior would then double count towards your master's degree, and maybe only one additional year of graduate school would enable you to end up achieving that master's degree. So that's our third pathway, and it's called a blended program, and you may have been hearing about some of these programs in some of your other presentations that have been happening this week. So Before I hand it over to some of our other guests, I wanted to just also share a few additional links that could possibly be helpful for you. This is an additional link at our Graduate College of Education on how to be a teacher. And there's some links here about what to do to prepare yourself for being an elementary teacher or a high school and middle teacher or a special education teacher, all of which could be pursued by starting with us in liberal studies. I also wanted to share some information about how to apply to San Francisco State. And so I'm dropping that link into the chat as well. In fact, if you happen to have opened the San Francisco State main website today, it had a link about how to apply and what to do there. But applying to SF State starts with this, the application at Cal State Apply. And that would be at the central application portal, which is supported and managed by the California State University system as a whole. So you begin and you apply through there, and then through that portal, you would end up selecting the boxes for San Francisco State. And there is the link for that. Yeah. And then actually the last thing would be sharing the link for how to apply to our Graduate College of Education if pursuing in any of those master's programs was of interest to you. So I think that probably wraps up most of what I was going to say. Let me first offer any opportunities to add to my comments from my colleague and our department chair in the School of Liberal Studies, Professor Jose Acacio de Barros.
Thanks, Logan, for the nice presentation, for giving an idea about our major and what is unique about it. And I wanted to perhaps emphasize a couple of things because they are important. We have the Integrated Teacher Preparation program, our ITEP program, that is only 73 units. If you compare that to other universities and the ITEP programs in other universities, it's incredibly small. 73 units might sound like a lot, but most of the ITEP programs throughout the CSU are more than 120 credit units. And it takes a lot of effort for you to be able to graduate in 4 years and to keep up with all the classes that you need to take. And the way that we do that is because of the point that Logan eloquently made, that we're an interdisciplinary program. And we don't look at things separately. Like, for example, now we're going to study astronomy, or now we're going to study climate change, or now we're going to study geology, or now we're going to study theater arts. Instead, we have classes that combine in a meaningful way all those topics. And it's very similar to what you're expected to do in the classroom anyway, because when you go in the classroom, for an elementary school classroom, you're not going to be taking things separately and breaking them down. That happens much later in life when people become super specialized. But in the elementary school classroom, you're going to be doing interdisciplinary work as well. And we kind of like model that with our classes. Logan mentioned, for example, our science and culture class, where you study astronomy and climate change from the perspective of the philosophy of science, and you learn not only the content, but you also learn the limits of science and what is it that science can do and what is it that science cannot do. Or he mentioned our class on pedagogy of the oppressed, where you combine the content, the California teaching credential content of theater arts, communication studies, and music, and you create plays in class that combine all those things in a meaningful way. So that's something that's very unique to our program. And I believe we're the only program in the entire CSU where if you have an associate's degree for transfer in elementary education, you can graduate within 2 years. with a teaching credential. So it's the only ITEP, the only integrated teacher credential program at the CSU where you're able to do that. Now, and the other exciting thing about our programs, and Logan talked a little bit about that, is the SF Scholar programs that blend masters with our ITEP. So in one of them, you have a master's and the ITEP, and you end it not only with a BA in liberal studies, a bachelor's, so that would be the bachelor's part. You also get a teaching credential, and you get a master's, and all of that in a very quick amount of time. And by the way, the master's program that the School of Education designed is a master's program that you can graduate, get your teaching credential, get into the classroom, start teaching, start gaining experience, start earning income, and at the same time, proceed with your master's, because the program is designed for in-service teachers who are actually already in the classroom and are teaching and can do the program while they're teaching. So that's a very important aspect of the master's. It's a master's in curriculum and instruction that's associated with our ITEP program. Alternatively, if you do the standard liberal studies program, you can use 12 credit units of your undergrad towards your credential. That saves you about a semester. And you can incorporate 12 credit units from your credential towards your master's. That's another integrated program that saves you about a year of getting your teaching credential, your BA, and your master's. So in one of them, there is an integrated ITEP program plus a master's. And in the other one, the other program is BA in liberal studies plus a teaching credential plus a master. So those are the two SF Scholar programs that we have for liberal studies, with a master's in curriculum and instruction. And we think that those are great opportunities for those who are interested in not only improving their teaching, but well, why not increase their income, because most school districts give you extra pay if you have a master's degree. So those are the things that I wanted to emphasize a little bit that makes our program at San Francisco State unique among the CSUs, and we're very excited about those programs. We think they're great.
Thanks very much, Acacio.
Yeah.
So also joining us on our Zoom call today are three of our San Francisco State alumni who have gone through the Liberal Studies program. I have with me Alon Patterson and Sarah Palmer and Felipe Ponce. And I was going to offer them an opportunity to just reflect on their own experiences and maybe how the Liberal Studies program helped them pursue their career in teaching. They're all doing, well, they're not all doing different teaching types, but two of them are teaching elementary school, and one of them has just gotten a recent position as a community college professor. So the question that I might throw to you guys would be, how did majoring in liberal studies at SF State help prepare you for graduate school or a credential program? And in no particular order. Maybe I'll call on Alon first, since you're in the upper right corner of my own Zoom screen here.
Hello. I feel like the liberal studies program at State helped prepare me for grad school, because I felt like I was much more well-rounded. The other classmates that I had in grad school talking about their programs were very very straight to the point, and there wasn't a lot of opportunities to study different things. So my mindset was much different than others. I feel like I got a very I can't even interdisciplinary is the perfect word for it, because I tapped into everything and I was able to study a bunch of different things while I was in the liberal studies program with SF State. So I felt much more prepared than my other classmates, not to compare, but I felt very well prepared and felt very well rounded compared to others.
All right, that's great. How about you, Sarah?
Well, I definitely have to agree. We actually graduated the same year, and I I still talk about my time at San Francisco State with my colleagues, and I share things that I learned while I was there. I still have binders that I keep in my classroom for science and different ways of teaching science to my students, along with different ways of teaching math. And I even have a PE binder. And all of this, just bringing it with me when I started my credential program and working on my master's, I think it just allowed me to come with a lot of background knowledge. And in my family, I have a lot of educators, and even having that in my background already, I feel like I got so much more out of my time at San Francisco State that I wasn't nervous at all going into my new classes and working on my credentials. I felt like it really helped get me ready. I was also given the opportunity to study abroad while I was at San Francisco, and I was in Sweden for a semester. I got to follow teachers around in schools over there, and that was one of the best opportunities that I could have asked for. And I think that's really just helped me a lot, not just in getting my credentials and going to get my master's, but just helping me become a more well-rounded teacher.
Also, I should have started by asking you both to also state what kind of teaching you're doing now.
Oh, well, I'm teaching third grade. I've also taught first grade and fourth grade.
Wow.
And I started as a special ed teacher, and then I made the transition and got my credential to teach middle school science.
Nice.
And Logan, if I can make a quick comment
Sure.
about the study abroad, you teach that class in Ecuador from time to time, which
Yeah.
is very cool. You know, you
It's
go to the forest, you
awesome.
bring, yeah. So I thought I should mention that.
Yes. Occasionally, maybe on a cycle of every 2 years, I try to take a group of students to the rainforest in Ecuador so they can actually experience the forest themselves, learn about the biodiversity and all the challenges to conservation, and also the threats to the forest and what's going on there with development, oil development, and other things. One of the members on the call was part of that, and it warms my heart, Ilan, to know that you're in the sciences now.
Yeah, honestly, that trip, well, it's a class, but it's a trip too. But it was very transformative for me because I was going into my senior year after it. And I was sad that I was graduating because then I wanted to just learn more about the environment and climate change and what we can do. And now that's things that I bring into my classroom, and I'll reference the trip and show my students pictures all the time. I love putting in that little plug whenever I can because it was such a great experience.
If it all goes well, I hope to be leading again this coming summer. So spread the word. Felipe, we haven't heard from you yet.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for first of all for being here, right, and being in community with us. So it's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you all. I appreciate the invitation. I gotta echo what Sarah typed in the thing. Like, I want to go back to school now. Like, this sounds amazing, right? The things you all are offering, because when I was there, I graduated in 2009. I just did the math. That's 15 years ago. We didn't have all these offerings, and we didn't have all these different pathways that you all created over the last 15 years. And I'm just like, man, I want to go back. But for me, one of the things that liberal studies offered me was just a breadth of ways of studying. I didn't have to take a regular English class. I took African American Studies English. I took a class named Hurston and Hughes. I took Chicano studies courses. I took the social science courses with Logan and other professors here, right? And so I think that in itself has exposed me to so much, right? In the different sciences and et cetera. So I think that was a big part of it. The one thing that I'm not gonna sugarcoat this, like it really changed my life. Like I hadn't even thought about graduate school until I was in Professor Hennessy's class, right? And I wrote this paper, and he just left this little note saying, "Hey, have you ever thought of grad school?" And at that moment, I hadn't. Like not until I read that note, I had not even thought about it until he put that on my paper, and I was like, "Whoa." I went to go visit in office hours, and like, what is grad school? What do you do? And just to have that type of mentorship and have that type of guidance, there's no value to that. I can't put a dollar sign to it. I can't, you know. And just for that, again, it opened up so many doors for me. It showed me the importance of being in community with professors as well, right? Like making sure we're communicating with each other, and just again, just having again, I don't even I can't even put words on it, honestly, on how that literally changed my life. Just that one little thing, and that came from the liberal studies department, right? And again, it took me into a graduate program. I got my master's in Chicano studies, and I've been teaching Chicano studies at the community college level for the last 9.5 years. And again, I always drop back on my liberal studies. And I always think about some of the books and things that we've learned over the years. And I just can't be more appreciative of having that opportunity. And if I could do it again, I would do it all again. No lie.
Well, we'd love to have you. Go ahead, man. Take some more classes with us. Well, thank you all so much for those comments and reflections, and it's really great to have you here with us and to share your experiences with our prospective students here. I think maybe now it might be a good time to just open it up more freely and invite any of our guests to ask us some more questions. I see that there's one there in the chat about a pathway to a credential if you already have a bachelor's in another subject. I think I could probably answer that to say, if you already have a bachelor's degree, you can just apply to the credential program directly. And you wouldn't need to major in liberal studies, although you certainly could. You could get a second bachelor's degree if our program is so enticing that you want to come study with us, and we'd be welcome to have you. We have students of all ages, really.
So just to add to that, you need to pass the CSAT and the CBEST exams, whereas if you have a BA in liberal studies, you're exempt from taking those exams. It's the only major that's approved by the California legislature to be a waiver major to meet the content requirement for future teachers for the multiple subject credential.
Yeah.
And if I can add, when I was in grad school and I was applying, if I had taken one more science class, I would have been exempt from the science CSET. But because I took so many different classes through liberal studies at SF State, some of my science requirements for the CSET were almost met. So you have a lot of opportunities to kind of do it all while you're there.
Yeah. Well, are there other questions that folks have? You're welcome to unmute your mic or ask us directly or drop a question into the chat. Oh, that's a great question, Sarah. Thank you for asking. So Sarah's asking, to what extent is the program either virtual or remote or built for working adults? The answer I could provide to that is that a good portion of our classes are offered online in different kinds of modalities, as they like to use the term on our campus. That means sometimes the course might be online one day and in person another day. That's one kind of modality. Sometimes it could be all online. Sometimes it could be all online and live, which would be a synchronous class, and also it could be all online and asynchronous, so at your own pace. Not all of the classes that we offer are available online, though. You cannot get a liberal studies degree entirely online. Some of the classes you do actually need to take on campus here in person. But there is some balance and flexibility there for those different options. Other questions? All right, well, I had one more for our alumni. Maybe just given the fact that these are all prospective students who are thinking about teaching, and not necessarily connected to liberal studies, but just in terms of a practical human to human advice. If you look back on your undergraduate education, what is something that you wish you might have known, or that someone had told you sooner about the process of becoming a teacher? And in no particular order. Felipe.
Yeah, for me, honestly, it was the relationship and mentors that I got. I wish I had known that, like when I started. I started at the community college and I transferred into SF State. I didn't get much mentorship at the community college, unfortunately. You know, I didn't have a lot of guidance. And when I got to SF State in the liberal studies program, it changed, right? Like I met folks that were instrumental in literally building the man I am today, right? And to me, that was, I wish I would have started that type of mentorship at 18, 19, 20 years old when I first started. So if I could give any advice to those prospective teachers, right? Definitely start working with your professors early. Start gaining, or start, you know, have them notice you, right? Because when they do, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for you. It's gonna change. I mean, the doors are gonna be wide open for you, even if it's going into like some type of nonprofit work or something like that. You know, just tightening up those networks through the mentorship of teachers and professors and counselors is something that, again, is something that I wish I would have done early instead of later on in my educational path. Yeah.
That's a great point. Thanks for sharing that, Felipe. What about you, Sarah?
I would just say to definitely take advantage of the fact that San Francisco State has job opportunities for students. I was able to get a job my first year there working as a tutor at a junior high in San Francisco. Worked with the kids after school, just tutoring them in math and language arts. And then my second year, I worked actually on campus at the preschool that is there. And it really does just give you the chance to see what it's like to be in the classroom and working with kids. Because a lot of us, when we are saying we want to become a teacher, we don't always know what it's actually like to be in charge of a classroom. And being able to get your foot in the door at least a little bit that way, I think that was very beneficial for me. And then after having those jobs, I started substitute teaching. And I think doing all of those steps really helped me in my first few years of teaching, just knowing how to manage a classroom. So I would just say take advantage of those different job opportunities that you can find through the school.
So can I piggyback on that just really quickly? Same thing for me, right? I got that opportunity. I knew my entire life that I wanted to teach, and I got an opportunity through that at San Francisco State in an elementary school, and I did not like it, right? And that's why I became a college professor, right? Because I understood, you know, that this wasn't going to be the path that I wanted to go into, right? Just knowing who I was as a person and seeing just who I could be in that classroom, I was like, okay, no, I need to work with adults, right?
Yeah. How about you, Alon?
I'll also agree to both of those. it wasn't until I want to say my third year that I started as a paraprofessional in schools in San Francisco. And I was doing that for a couple of years, and then I was subbing after I graduated. And doing all of those really helped me understand where I wanted to be. I spent a lot of time in elementary schools and realized middle school was the sweet spot for me, even though it's like scary for everyone else. I absolutely love it. So yes, take advantage of the classrooms, the diverse classrooms. There's so many great schools in San Francisco. The first school I worked at was they had the multicultural fest like every month, and they would just pour you with food. It was amazing. But anywho, so aside from getting classroom experience, get just the best educational experience at SF State. They offer so many classes. And then with the liberal studies major only being like so many units, you have the opportunity to take whatever you want within your like what is it, A through G or Gs. So take advantage of that. There's so many great classes. If you have an interest in something, take that class. My final year, I took like ceramics, music. I got to have a class with a professor who would study dolphins and porpoises, and just study whatever you can and whatever you're interested in, because now that I'm an alumni, I want to go back and learn more. Like we're all saying, it's take advantage of your education, because once you have it, you won't lose it. So soak it up as much as you can.
That's I don't think I can come up with a better ending note than that, Alon. That's pretty good. Oh wow.
I can give a bureaucratic ending actually, which is I'm posting on the chats my email for folks to reach out to me if they have any questions.
Yeah.
Logan mentioned at the beginning, I'm the chair of the liberal studies department. So yeah, reach out and hopefully.
And we have these email addresses. You can reach our
there you go.
Our department at ls@sfsu.edu. You can reach me at logan.h@sfsu.edu, or you can reach Professor Barros at barros@sfsu.edu. Thanks very much for joining us today, and don't hesitate to reach out and have some questions, or just stop by, come by and see us sometime in the Humanities Building at SF State. Take a walk through the campus and see for yourself how beautiful and modern and exciting it is. And take a look at the courses that are offered, because I think you'll be pleased and excited about what we have going on here. All right, have a great evening, everybody. And anyone that wants to stick around is welcome to chat a little longer.
Yeah, I can stick out. I can stick around as well.
Great. All right, thank you. I'll stop that share. Thank you so much, Felipe and Sarah and Alon. That was great. So good to hear from you.
This was fun. Yeah.
Appreciate the invite.
Yeah. All right.
It was really nice being able to be here. It's been a long day. And this is kind of nice to end the day. Because we had an emergency last minute school board meeting today, and I was trying to get to that and then be here, and lots of stuff going on. If there's any prospective students still on, be active in your unions, please.
Yes.
Just putting that out there. Be active in your union.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you all so much. It was a pleasure to learn about you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your help,
Thank
Sarah.
you. Have a great night, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks again, guys. We'll see you later. We'll catch you
Yeah,
later.
it's good to see you. Thank you so much for
Okay.
thinking of us.
Everybody.